I don't believe in magical things, but I still believe in me. I no longer need the magic it seems, but I'm still in need of me. I'm growing in my understanding of all the things I need. And what it seems I need the most of is reciprocity. I need boundaries for my flowing. I need friction for my growth. I need my participation and my trust in how life goes. I need understanding. Help my understanding. I don't believe in magical things, but I still believe in me. I no longer need the magic it seems, but I'm still in need of me. I'm growing in my understanding of all the things I need. And what it seems I need the most of is reciprocity. I need boundaries for my flowing. I need friction for my growth. I need my participation and my trust in how life goes. I need understanding. Oh, I'm here for understanding. Ooh, life needs understanding. Help my understanding. Oh, I don't believe in magical things, but I still believe in me. I no longer need all the magic it seems, but I'm still in need of me. Oh, I'm growing in my understanding of all the things I need. And what it seems I need the most of is reciprocity. I don't believe in magical things, but I still believe in me. I no longer need the magic it seems, but I'm still in need of me.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in for another Wednesday conversation. Man, that song just gets me. I mean, I know I wrote it, but damn, it gets me. Like, oh, I'm sitting there like, dang, yeah. Which that one I literally wrote this Sunday right before our Sunday session. And man, I'm always grateful when I just have a moment of inspiration and just get to sit down at the keyboard and actually write something out. But to me, those lyrics are just so paramount for my life. Now, they don't have to reflect your life. Those lyrics definitely reflect me, man. I don't believe in magical things, but I still believe in me. I no longer need the magic it seems, but I'm still in need of me. To me, that's just such a profound realization, recognition, and it flows right into the conversation we're going to be having today. And so before I get into that, hey, listen, as you're coming in, make sure you let us know who you are. Say hello to somebody else in the chat. I don't get to talk about that a lot, but that is something that I want to, especially because of the work that we're doing with DLD, with Bridge City, but then also the work that we're doing with the LDD World Group. The goal of Bridge City is to connect better, build better, and ultimately help people live better. The goals of the LDD World Group is to decrease harm and increase well-being. And, all of those things sound big and jive and wonderful, but, it really starts in the way that we interact with each other. That's why the Bridge City mission begins with connecting better. And so a part of connecting better, and this is what I would love for our live community, the people that participate live. I would love for us to make a culture where we have the most hospitable environment for these live shows. And so you come in like a Southern belle. That's probably not a great example, but you come in and you introduce yourself, say hey to somebody, look for somebody in the chat to say hey to say something nice about, and all that good stuff. Let's just create a culture of it, man, because that's a part of what humanism is. Let people know that you're glad to see them, because I am, like, it's so important to us for Bridge Cities that on Sundays, like for people who show up for the first time, we give them a free gift. It's like, nah, that's so important that you could be anywhere, you could be doing anything, especially after leaving religion, and you still showing up to do some stuff with us on a Sunday. Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. So there's something that we're highly appreciative of, and I love it. I love seeing y'all coming in. Lauryn Hill did mention reciprocity in one of her songs. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, man. All right. So as y'all are coming in, remember, say something. Let us know where you're watching from. You could be watching with your neighbor. I don't think I have any major announcements today other than this Sunday we'll be closing out our reciprocity series, part 4. And damn, look, I ain't trying to pat myself on the back, but this reciprocity series has been incredible. Like, oh my goodness, I felt so good through all 3 weeks so far. I feel like, I was just telling a friend that I feel like this is likely one of the most mature and one of the most reorienting type of series that we've done on a Sunday. But it felt really good to be having conversations and then you can just seeing just kind of the sputter through the community. You can see like, oh snap, this is really helping people. People are getting, and that's really what inspired that song is like, at the end of the day, the thing that I really need is understanding, right? Like if I expect reciprocity, and we demystify reciprocity in this series, but if I expect reciprocity to work in my life, what I need of is not more magic, man. I need more understanding. I don't need to manifest. I don't need to materialize. I need more understanding. I need boundaries for my flowing. I need friction for my growth. And then I need my participation in knowing how life goes. That's why I need understanding. And that's really the work that we kind of do. That's the whole work that we do from this little platform here. From this little platform, the whole work that we do is to help people find some sense of understanding. The word that I use for it is hermeneutic. What I do when people are like, dang, Darante, you just say things and it just makes sense to me, or you say things in a way that I can understand. And the beautiful thing about that is I don't know you. So I don't even know what you gonna understand and what you're not gonna understand. But what it is, it's the same way that a comedian does what a comedian does. It's the same way that an artist does what an artist does. When they paint a picture, not knowing you, but they paint an image, not knowing you at all, but you see that image and it touches something in you. You sitting up there crying over a doodle from a stranger. Because what they've done is they've created a hermeneutic, like a bridge of understanding. Ooh, man, it's so good to see y'all in here. It's so good to see y'all in here. Welcome in, Monica. Yes. All right, y'all. So the conversation today is, who are you now? Who are you now? And I said all that other stuff to say, hey, if you ain't doing nothing Sunday at noon, Come hang out with us and at noon Central Time. And even if you are doing something, it's the internet. So you can do this and do that at the same time. All right. So today we're talking about who are you now? And I want to drop a few quotes that I wrote down. They're not famous quotes or anything. They're just few lines of thought that I had that led to the notes that I built out for this conversation. All right. So I'm gonna share a few lines. And I should have put these in the chat. But you know, I'm gonna put one of these on the screen. I have two laptops. This is live. I don't have to be lazy just because it's live. Zernial has spoiled me because on Sundays he's in there with us. Oh, I think they had Pictionary. Sundays he's in the studio with me, and so he's pretty much creating those on the fly and just be killing it. So you see how long it took me to do it. All right, so these were the quotes. Good morning, Jude. Welcome in. These were the quotes that or the thoughts that came to my mind that led to this conversation that we're having today, which we're calling "Who Are You?" And I'm just going to be theming this Wednesdays over the next for the rest of the summer. This is summer school. This is summer school. And so for the first day of summer school, we're talking about who are you and what led me to this conversation. And I'm going to show you why this matters. I'm going to show you why this matters. We're not about to go no guru woo woo spooky place. I'm going to show you why this matters. Escape is not the same thing as freedom. And indignation is not the same as identity. That's the thought. That's what I wrote in my what's going on, JB? That's what I wrote in my notes, or typed up in my notes. Wrote is anachronistically incorrect. What I typed in my notes: escape is not the same thing as freedom. Okay. And indignation is not the same thing as identity. All right. I think I'm gonna let that ride for a minute. I think I'm gonna let that sit up there for a minute. Leaving what shaped you does not automatically tell you who you are. Welcome in, Shell. Leaving what shaped you does not automatically tell you who you are. Deconstruction can free you from harmful beliefs, but it doesn't automatically give you a self. Okay? So escape is not the same thing as freedom. Indignation is not the same as identity. I want that to really settle. Like, I want that to settle, man. One of my former mentors, like, he had this bad band in the world, one of the baddest bands in the world. And they wouldn't just play like churchy music. When they stuff, like, they be doing like scoring music, like Jaws and shit like that. That's what we need right now. Dun-dun. Escape is not the same thing as freedom, but escape is not the same thing as freedom. Indignation is not the same thing as identity. Leaving what shaped you does not automatically tell you who you are. Deconstruction can free you from harmful beliefs, but it does not automatically give you a self. Now, here's something that I started tripping out on about 12 to 14 years ago. And this probably sparked a lot in me, even beyond my deconstruction, but just reconstructing how I approach the world, right? How I approach the world. And the way that is the thing that happened for me was realizing how many people stopped learning somewhere in high school. Okay. And I want you to think about that. Our series for August is going to be called Sit in It. So get used to me saying sit in it a little bit. I want you to sit in that. I want you to, like, it became overwhelmingly concerning to me that there's a vast majority of people who we share space with who stopped learning somewhere in high school. Some waited until graduation. Like I'm graduated, I ain't got to learn no more. There are people, and I think college professors will attest to this. There are people who are in college and are not there to learn. I want you to think about that. Like how often when you hear people talk about college, do you hear them even talking about it as them going to learn? You know? I want you to think about this now, because this is when people are like, I don't understand how we got here. And I'm like, well, if you just remember who you went to school with and realize that for many people, that became a snapshot of where they stayed. I'm not saying for everybody, but I am saying enough that it matters, enough that it impacts how, what the rest of the world kind of looks like and what's taking shape in it. And then, and as a pastor, this was messing with me because at the time I was pastor in Kingdom Central. As a pastor, this was messing with me because at first I wanted to pat myself on the back. Like as the church, the Christian church, I was like, yeah, look at there. Because what led me to this observation was making a case study that the church is not just a place, and this is before I deconverted, but I was making a case study that a church is not just a place that people see as a serving institution, nor is it not just a place that people see as a spiritual institution, right? But it is also a place that people see, and I want to make sure I say this right. It is also a place that people see as a learning institution, which is like, now back then that was like, and I can almost give it to you because this was like the Two-Face moment for me. Because like at first I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. People are coming to church not just to worship and not just to serve, which the serving thing was that I was really excited about. We were a serve-centric church, but people are also coming to church to learn, not just about Jesus and God and the disciples and the Holy Spirit and spiritual gifts. At the juncture of church that I was in, the majority of the churches I was participating in and I was connected with had shifted vastly away from messages like that. But people were coming to learn how to approach life. Okay, so now at first I'm like, man, look at the church. The church is out here being the superstar. And then as a person who was also finishing their first degree in social science and taking a lot of heavy sociology classes and leadership classes around the same time, there was like this thought, like, oh shit, people are getting their learning from the church. And then that became a rabbit trail, a rabbit hole for me, because then I had to kind of unravel, like, well, what are they learning from the church? And then realizing how much stuff that in a church environment can get propped up as authoritative, that's even outside the scope of just religion or scripture. So then people are getting their financial advice from church. They're getting their career advice from church. They're learning who other people are from church. All right. So then at this moment, you realize, like, we're in this crazy paradox then where you have a high number of people who just stopped learning somewhere in high school. Learning has not been a thing for them anymore. Education for many people gets completely supplanted by entertainment by the time they're in 11th grade. Right? Completely supplanted. If it's not entertaining, it has no value for me. All right. So then you got a lot of people who are not learning. Like when you talk to somebody and you're like, how can you have these outdated views, or how can you view the world through these outdated lens? It's like looking at a fossil. They're telling you when they got buried. They're telling you this is where I stopped. Damn, this is good. Like none of this part is in my notes. None of this is in my notes. But when you're talking to somebody and they're expressing these incredibly outdated ideologies, harmful or otherwise, They're showing you where they got buried at. They're demonstrating like this is where I got fossilized at. This is where I stopped learning. This is where I concretized what I was going to know, and nothing has gone beyond that point. And that is not the exception. I'm saying like that's damn near the rule. The damn near the rule, the most, the majority of people you're talking to are not participating in any type of learning system because graduation was permission to stop. That's why I like, I don't even like the word graduation. I like the word commencement. Let's commence to the next phase. But we have so many people who don't know what learning is. And then that's why we have another majority of people who actually want to learn, who are actually passionate about learning. You'd be surprised how many people get involved with churches, Christian ministries, because they're just looking for a place to learn, because they're passionate about learning. And learning happens in conversations. And so you got another group of people who actually are passionate about learning. They like reading, but all of their learning is taking place in these echo chambers. So again, just highlighting here, escape is not the same thing as freedom, and indignation is not the same as identity. And this matters. This matters for a reason. This matters for a reason. After leaving religion, culture, family systems, or ideological control, we still have to ask, here it is. And you know what? We're doing this today. I'm putting this in the chat. We're doing this today. Let's go there. Let me I keep looking at the wrong screen though. I'm gonna have to stop doing that. I'm gonna have to look at the right screen. All right. We're gonna add that banner and then we're gonna show it. Here it is. Who am I when I'm no longer reacting to what hurt me? And that's really, that's what that previous quote really kind of leads to. The previous thought leads to. The first thought is, okay, escape is not the same thing as freedom. Okay, you got out. Indignation is not the same thing as identity. Yeah, you're mad and you got a right to be mad. But who am I when I am no longer reacting to what hurt me? That's the question that I'm asking us as a community to sit with today. You know what I'm saying? Who am I when I'm no longer reacting to what hurt me? So the question is, now that you've escaped by deconstructing harmful theology or harmful culture, and that's my encouragement, is that you don't stop at theology. Don't stop at just deconstructing the theology. Start deconstructing the culture. And the more you deconstruct the culture, you will eventually get to the place where you start deconstructing your permission to control other people. Oh, this is so good, y'all, this is good. So the question is, now that you've escaped by deconstructing harmful theology and culture, in full recognition of how those ideologies once shaped you as a person, who are you now? And just to drive this point home a little bit, I want to step on your toes a little bit. And how did it happen so quickly? If who you were was shaped by all of these other things, and that's what we're going to be talking through today. How did deconstructing give you a new identity? And here's the news flash. It didn't. Okay. All right. Okay. So no, we're going to get into this because I want to make sure that we have an understanding in this one. Okay. So watch this. Getting off of trauma is not the same as coming into yourself. Who am I when I am no longer reacting to what hurt me? Just do a thought experiment. If the things that hurt me all just disappeared right now, who would I be? And the reason I like to encourage people to do this particular thought experiment is because it's like, why would you let Once you realize who that person is, like, who would I be if, because I used to do this with the Black nationalist folk, right? So it's like, who would I be if the oppressive honky didn't exist, type of thing. I didn't use the word honky, but I thought it was funny at this moment. So there you go. But like, no, who am I if oppression didn't exist? And it's a way to really find your identity on the other side of the struggle that it's been previously defined by. And then once you see that picture and you're comfortable with that picture, he's like, yeah, that's who I'd be if it wasn't for all of this. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly who I'd be. Then the next question is, then why would you let their presence deprive you of it? Y'all, this is coaching level stuff, right? No. If they don't want me to have it, why am I going to let them be the ones to stop me from having it? Why would I shape my identity by what they want and not shape my identity by what I want? No. Why would I let their existence? But it's like this is like on the field type talk. No, why would I let their existence keep me from becoming who I want to be? This is a different level of talk. All right. So who am I when I am no longer reacting to what hurt me? So watch this. Deconstruction often begins with anger, grief, exposure, and intellectual liberation. People are processing manipulation, fear, shame, bad theology, which I don't know if there's any good theology. I think we should all just be doing humanology. I think all theology is humanology. I'm going to say that. All theology is humanology. Authoritarian culture and lost time. But eventually the question changes, or at least it should. At first, the question is, what did they do to me? For most, I stopped believing in God at the same time I stopped believing in mermaids, and I was a grown man at that moment. And so I was just like, hey, this ain't nobody's fault but mine, but many people go through the phrase, oh, they lied to me. What did they do to me? What did they make me believe? And that's healthy. If that's your paradigm, that's healthy. But then eventually it has to become, who am I now that I am not organizing my life around them? If that's not who I like, if my life, if this is no longer going to be central to my life, who am I now? And that's today's conversation. Who are you now? Not what did you leave? Not who did they want you to be? Who are you now? Not who they tried to make you to be, not who they're making you be now. No, who are you now? When you're finished reacting to what hurt you, to who hurt you, to the things that offended you, when you're through reacting, who are you? Because it's that you that needs to show up when you're offended. It's that you that needs to show up when you're hurt. That's your protector. Man, this is too good. Some people leave church, but the church remains the organizing center of their personality. They're no longer defending it, but they're still orbiting it, triggered by its gravitational pull on their inner lives. Okay. Now, this ever since I've started coming, just being more public with my own journey and being more exposed to the community and content creators, this was an immediate concern of mine. Immediate. I've been talking about it since day one. That, we have to be very careful of not organizing people around their wounds, because then we're not creating places of healing. We're creating trauma traps, places that literally the whole reason, the whole way I'm able to keep you attached is to keep that wound still fresh. No, I don't want that wound to be fresh. I want that wound to be healed. We don't need wounded you on the battlefield. We need whole you. We need wise you. We need walking upright you. And so, yes, it's fun to consume, and in moderation is healthy. But at some point, we do have to have a concern like, whoa, are we still having people orbiting the old paradigm and not really giving them safe places to explore who they could be? Because now every room I'm in has to be defined by what I'm against. And again, indignation is not identity. Who I'm mad at is not the same as what makes me come alive. What I hate right now is not the same thing as what I love. What I want to see fall down is not the same as what I want to build up. Indignation is not identity. Anger is necessary at times. Anger is honest. Anger is even morally appropriate. But anger alone cannot tell you what you love, what you value, what you're building, what kind of friend you are, what kind of parent you are, what kind of community you want, or what kind of human you are becoming. You know? No. Who am I when I'm no longer responding to what hurt me, when I'm no longer reacting to what hurt me? And what this is this is finally living beyond the bondage. Escape is not the same thing as freedom. You escaped, but you're not free. You're still on the run. Okay. So let's talk about some things that used to shape us. And let's just talk about how we were shaped. And I don't mean this as a perfect science, but as someone who spent years in Christian leadership spaces, I definitely started noticing how often people's church background showed up in their public identity. All right. So through all 4 years of high school, and I went to 4 different high schools, dysfunctional family. But all 4 years of high school, I presided over a Christian campus organization, whether it was First Priority, Christians in Actions. We had one called Fire, Fervent and Passionate, Righteous, Effective, based off James 5:16, I think. And then another one called UPS, was just the United Prayer Service. That's literally what that last one was called. But I found it very interesting that I could often just tell or discern the church experience of our members or the people showing up based off of their behaviors in public. And just to kind of give you a little insight into what I mean now, and again, this isn't a perfect science. I ain't trying to stereotype or pre-label. I'm just telling y'all this is how I saw it, as one blind man touching an elephant to other blind folks touching other elephants. All right, so listen, there was the people who were if you were loud and overly confident, like in our meetings, then I knew you likely came from a Pentecostal charismatic experience. Like, even if it just so happened to be like a Black Baptist church, it was going to be full gospel Baptist where y'all spoke in tongues over there. If you were loud and overly confident. But then there was also people who were vocal, but reservedly preppy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for those, they were either Baptist or regionally dominant denomination. So it was like, they'd be like First Baptist or United Methodist Church, you know, it's like it'd be something like that. And then it was also shy but active, you know, shy but active. Welcome in, loving and love from Houston. Shy but active. And these people were typically on fringe groups of Christianity. So like in the little town that I lived in, Lutherans were considered fringe. Okay. So when people would come and they were Lutheran, or especially if they were anything like Mormon, even the Catholics were a little fringe in my community. So it was just like, oh, they were always shy, but active in the community. And I'm not saying this is who they are at all times. I'm not saying this is who they were in all public spaces. This is who they were in this particular context of space in these meetings. And then there was the shy but distant people. And they were normally either had a foreign belief system or no belief at all. And which was actually fairly regular for my stuff. Like, we had people who, you know, They were witches. We had people who were pagans. We had people who were atheists. For fire, I think Dallas was an atheist, and I had like to fight off the other leaders, like leave him alone. Like, see, I've been defending atheists for a very long time. I've been in the game, all right. But I point that out. I point that out. What you know about Smith Wigglesworth? I point that out to say church was not just teaching beliefs; it was training personalities. Pentecostal and charismatic spaces often train people to be expressive, emotionally demonstrative, spiritually confident, and publicly bold. I come from a very charismatic culture, and I resonated with more charismatic churches because it made more room for my expressive identity. You know, and so sometimes when people say, "Can you talk like regular?" I'm like, "What is regular to you?" I don't understand what that means. Like, I got 50 different people living up in here. Which one is the regular one? I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm a multitude of people, okay? But no, I noticed that the regionally dominant church cultures often train people in respectability, public presentation, social hierarchy, and controlled confidence. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise you. The fringe or minority group cultures may train people to be highly committed but socially cautious because their beliefs mark them as different. You know, people from foreign, non-religious, or less dominant belief systems may move with distance, caution, or code switching because they know they're outside the dominant religious script, right? So they know that tongue talking in their church is a no-no. But if they realize that this group that I'm a part of and they speak in tongues, I'm just going to look uncomfortable, but I'm not going to say anything, you know? And so, and then of course, we think in many of these times we're just being ourselves. But a lot of what we called personality, a major part of that was religious socialization. And I think learning about socialization and understanding how socialization impacts us has probably been one of my biggest contributions to this particular conversation in this space. Is because I think we underestimate just how much we've been socialized by religion and by religious ideals. You know, this is why people still think Jesus is a good guy. And it's like like you could not, like, most people today, most people, at least the people who are saying, "Hey, I don't agree with Christianity, but I still think Jesus is a good guy." Most of those people, the parts of Christianity that they disagree with is like the mega church Christianity, the preachers taking advantage of poor people and stuff. But I'm like, that's exactly who Jesus was. He was taking advantage of poor people. He praises a poor woman for giving her last and basically says the rest of you should be just like her. That's some straight, that's some straight Benny Hinn stuff right there. You know, man, is that essence? If that is essence, then yeah, of course. Like, not right now, of course, but yeah. So a lot of how we respond, a lot of what we do is a part of larger religious socialization. Every tradition, every religious tradition, every denominational tradition, it does more than just tell you what to believe. And I want you to think about this because I can't tell your story. Only you can tell your story. I want you to think about this. How did your religious tradition impact more than just your beliefs? Okay? Because I think sometimes we do these incomplete deconstructions. That's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it an incomplete deconstruction. Sometimes we do these incomplete deconstructions where we deconstruct the things we no longer believe as if believing was the only problem. Or here we go. As if belief is only is only restricted to spiritual or supernatural things. And so we deconstruct from spiritual supernatural things. You know, we deconstruct from spiritual supernatural things, but we often fail to challenge our beliefs in other areas. Believe spiritual things are not the only places you believe. You believe things about people, you believe things about politics, you believe things about stories, you believe things about the value of creativity, you believe things about the value of imagination, of art, you believe things about economics, you believe things about society, you believe things about past, present, and future. And the true work of deconstruction is recognizing just, no, it's like, no, if this was the most important thing in my life and I was able to believe it without verification, how many other areas in my life, how many other areas in my life did I believe stuff that wasn't verified, you know? Oh no, I think I read that wrong. That's why I was like, essence, if it's you. And apparently you're not essence. And so I'll put the user in timeout. I don't know what they got going on. Internet people are weird, right? These parasocial relationships. Um so every tradition does more than tell you what to believe about religion, and tells you more than just what to believe about doctrine or about deities. This is shaped. It tells you what kind of person is admirable. It tells you what type of people are good. It's like, how much of your common sense did you develop the same way you develop your religious beliefs? Has anybody ever asked you that question before? How much of your common sense, your availability heuristic, how much of your common sense did you acquire the same way you acquired religious conviction? Mm. Oh, yeah. See, that's the stuff you got to sit in. That's the stuff you got to sit in. It's like, oh no, everybody knows this. Really? Like, that's when you should already know you're in slippery territory. You're no longer having a real conversation, you know? And listen, I'm not saying that language should not exist. I love exorbitant and flowery language. I'm very poetic with my words. I love it. But I also know that anytime we start using, words, and I can't think of the word that describes these words right now, but we start using absolutes. That's one of them, but there's another one. We start using absolutes. Everybody knows we're no longer to be taken seriously. That should be poetic. The problem is much of our common sense knowledge, most is based on an everybody knows, which in many cases means nobody has verified. So your religious upbringing doesn't just tell you what to believe. And it's not, and I don't even want to just isolate this to religion. Your believing problems are not just with religion. But the fact that your believing problems made it all the way to your religion should be a red flag for you from the moment you realize it. Because, like, no, my religion is not the same as my politics. No, my religion is not the side chick. The religion is the main, you know, in most people's lives, who are religious. Religion is the most important thing to them. Their relationship with the divine, their relationship with their creator. And I mean, you just hear the arrogance in it now that you're sitting on the other side of it. I got a relationship with the creator of everything. I bet you do. I just bet you do. It's very arrogant. It's problematic. It's problematic. But no, but this is the thing that is the most important thing in my life. For many of them, they say, this is for God I live, for God I die. For them, this is to say, I will stake my eternal soul on this. My eternal soul. I'm going to stake my soul on this. And yet, the beliefs that I've developed around the most important thing in my life, I did no work to verify. If I did that in the area that is the most important in my life, if I wasn't running those security checks in the most important area in my life, then what is the probability that I was being hyper vigilant in all the other areas? No, here's the thing. If you believed bullshit about religion, there's probably 99 and a half more ways that you still believe bullshit. Because at that time, and this is, man, I hope this is helping somebody. Religious bullshit existing is not the problem. People not knowing how to filter information is. You know? Every tradition tells you more than just what to believe. So Pentecostalism may reward intensity, certainty, spiritual sensitivity, and emotional performance. Reformed theology may reward doctrinal precision, intellectual seriousness, and confidence in divine sovereignty. I'm showing you the uniforms that people wear, the mask that we put on. Baptist culture may reward biblical loyalty, congregational identity, and evangelistic certainty. That's like when something go crazy and the person was a member of a Baptist church, they're like, but he was a Sunday school teacher. What the hell does that got to do with anything? You know? Like, but he was at church all the time. Imagine something crazy happening, and I'd be like, but he was at Walmart every Saturday. Like, how does that have any bearing on the accusation? But congregational identity becomes really important in Baptist cultures. Catholic, Orthodox, Ethiopian, Anglican, or liturgical traditions may reward continuity, ritual, sacrament, tradition, and institutional belonging. Now, understanding these things doesn't on one side, yes, it helps us understand how we were shaped, what has shaped us, but it also helps us understand why we're looking for what we're looking for. Oh, man. Like, okay. Sometimes I can't do it a lot, but sometimes. Now listen, I love pasta. I love pasta so much that when I was a kid, I thought that I might be part Italian because I just love pasta. Silly me just thought only Italians had pasta. But anyway, so like I love pasta. And the more authentic, the better. Like some genuine cheese. Not like I've had like the lifestyle to have a lot of this, you know. But I love pasta. But every now and then, I just want some Chef Boyardee's. I want the Chef Boyardee ravioli. I do. I'm sure it's not real meat. I am so sure. Oh my goodness. I ain't never had no meat like that. I feel like there's a joke there, but I'm gonna leave it alone. But you know, I'm gonna go and get it. Why? Because there is some nostalgia there for me. There's some memories attached to that. That is a part of my makeup. Okay? So, and I say that because you hear the different styles of music we create. We do that because we understand what nostalgia is for people. And instead of them having to go back to self-deprecation, we provide an alternative that keeps lifting them up. It's like making Disney music. You know, you get it. Okay, let's go. Let's keep going. Next one. Just, you know, have a fiending for some junk food, man. Like that's definitely going to make me want to go use some of my points at the store in a few. There's also, which I have to mention these because they don't get mentioned as much, but like the Hebrew Israelite types of folks, the Messianic types of folks, the restorationist traditions, they may reward chosen identity, historical correction, ethnic or covenantal recovery, and oppositional certainty. And these things don't just show up in the halls of religious debate, they show up in our behavior. Non-denominational evangelical spaces may reward relatability, leadership, charisma, entrepreneurial faith, and brand-like spirituality. That's pretty much me right there, except for I was non-denominational, Pentecostal, urban, not evangelical. I was evangelical in high school. I didn't know the church I went to was evangelical, which was very uncomfortable for me at times, but it was also the only multicultural church we had in the city. In our little smaller city of Ozark is where I was living at the time. So the point is, when people leave theology, they're not just leaving doctrines, you know? They're not just leaving doctrines. They're leaving a personality system. Now, for everybody who's a part of community building, whether you're building community with Bridge City or you're building community under your own umbrella, for everybody who's involved in community building, whether you're doing it on the ground level by helping people through moderation, or you're doing something by taking responsibilities for groups or teams, everybody needs to understand this. If you're building post-religious community, you need to understand that when people leave theology, they are not just leaving doctrines, they are leaving a personality system. Okay? And like people are not these simple machines where, ooh, I just take out the bad belief and now everything is good. No. As a matter of fact, the bad belief didn't go anywhere. It's still in there. It's just no longer centered. It's no longer platformed. But it's still a part of so many other memories. Like when you stop believing in Santa Claus, you don't forget all of the stories you learned about Santa Claus. You still Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. It's still there. It's still there. You know? So when people leave theology, they're not just leaving doctrines, they're leaving a personality system. All right. So now, and then this other, so we kind of just talked about these doctrines, but I want to talk about this other thing, because then there's also the idea of grand designs and how this impacts grand designs, which is kind of the last trench of theism. A lot of people lose belief in hell, biblical inerrancy, demons, prophecy, or church authority, but they still hold on to the idea that there is some cosmic master plan that they're supposed to discover. All right. So there are plenty of people who have deconstructed religion and said, oh, religion is wrong or religion is harmful, and there is no specific and all the specific gods are wrong, but they still believe, and this is not everybody, this is somebody, and you know these people, they still believe, but I still believe there is a creator, and there's some layers here, but not only that there is a creator, but that creator has a design. And not only does that creator have a design, but that design specifically includes the details of my life, past, present, and future. And so, which is very weird to me. Like I was talking to somebody earlier this week, you know, like if you reach out to me for advice on stuff, like I am a person. And so like I'm gonna talk to you like a person, and I'm gonna talk to you like no, like I don't do the kid gloves thing. I'm like you're an adult. And so by far and large, people appreciate it. I've had nobody call me a jackass to my face yet, or through my chat yet. But I am pretty like straightforward with people. So I had someone who had been reaching out to me for a while, and I'd stop responding to them for a minute because I was like, I don't think this person is getting it. And because they're struggling with fears of, fear of hell, fear of demons, fear of witches, fear of warlocks, and just just a gumbo of different fears, just a whole gumbo of different fears. And they're asking me like, well, what do I need to do? How do I know that hell isn't real? How do I know that Yahweh isn't going to get me? Like, how do I explain ghosts, and how do I explain these people who claim that they're levitating? And for me, like, when I think about things from a systems perspective, I'm like, wait a minute. If someone if you've been convinced that, okay, this is false, like if someone convinces me that witches are not real, like supernatural witches are not real, why would I need to be additionally convinced that something that operates by the exact same magical properties, which means like I'm not really getting an understanding. That's all I'm getting. I'm getting convinced. I'm just borrowing somebody else's certainty. And so I realized, and this ain't in my notes, I'm just flowing a little bit. I realized like that's a trap that we kind of set ourselves up for, is that people start looking for the loudest voice in the room to replace what they used to know. And that's just still operating off of borrowed certainty. And so when people come to me for stuff like that, I don't give them an answer, because no answer I give you will substitute for understanding. You have to do the hard work of getting understanding, because if you don't, you're going to float from one trap to another trap to the other trap, because all it takes is somebody else's confidence to convince you, because you're not learning how things operate. So what I encourage them to do, and I'm just talking my talk, is you need to take some critical thinking classes. It amazes me how much that doesn't get platformed in our spaces. It's like, no, Crash Course does a wonderful job with some critical thinking stuff. It's free. Go get it. There's the logical fallacy folks, the cognitive biases folk, all under the School of Thought.org umbrella. Go get those resources. On Kahoot, they have games that help you identify your cognitive biases. I created one of them. So instead of getting so stuck in religious debate, get involved in some rigorous learning. And Crash Course is a YouTube channel. Please, it's like one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites, y'all. I don't want to sound like a little kid, but it's one of my favorites. Their sociology crash course and their psychology crash courses are amazing. Sometimes I just put them and let them play in the background while I'm working. I do, because I like them that much. So sometimes we get people caught in the theater of things while not paying attention. While not paying attention to, are people learning? And this takes me back to where we open it up. At an overwhelming realization for me that like terrified me is that I just say randomly 90%. We're being poetic, not realistic, but let's just say 90% of people stopped learning in high school. Not that they couldn't learn, but they actively stopped. Just stopped. They just stopped. They're no longer learning. Now they're just consuming. John and Hank Green, yes. Just, so, oh man. So my big point is critical thinking is necessary. If we know we're dealing, see, it's not even, I think people have been disconnected from learning for so long that many people don't know how to learn. Listen to me, like real good. Like, do you not know there's a considerable segment of our population who believe they don't know how to learn because so much of what we do is encoded in superstition and supernaturalism that people begin to believe things about themselves, such as there are such things as natural learners and natural non-learners. I'm just naturally good at this. I'm not naturally good at this, which I have a whole conversation on this where I'm going to be debunking this whole idea about learning styles. There's just been too much pseudoscience promoted as real science, and it's all just magical thinking. And so now a child goes into a subject that they've never been exposed to and think that because it looks strange to them, Learning just may not be their thing. I don't think learning is my thing because I'm looking at this and I don't see what y'all see. Well, of course you don't see what they see. You don't have their parents. You're not exposed to the conversations they're exposed to. See, it's and so there are people out here who are thinking that they cannot learn. There are people out here cannot learn while learning sports statistics. It's like, no, you have the capacity for the storage. But because you believe in magic, that some people just magically know these things. No, people are exposed to different information at varying rates and varying degrees of accessibility. And so when you show up in public school, there is a high probability that you're showing up with someone who's been exposed to things that you've never been exposed to. And if we have an education system that doesn't understand those dynamics, then they're not going to be able to catch when kids in the system, in the classroom, are writing themselves off because someone else's family has more exposure opportunities. No, they're in the Boy Scouts. No, they go to science fairs every year. No, they got military camps that they do. No, so that's why when they sit in history class, they've already been exposed to many. See, I'm just trying to make it make sense. Okay. And so the thing is, like, we need to be just as passionate about educating people as we are about debating people. We need to be just as passionate about creating spaces that makes learning attractive again. And I think that's something that Bridge City is doing an excellent job at. Not to toot our own horn. So I'm supposed to be talking about grand designs as the last trench of theism. And this is all in the greater conversation of who are you now? And so even after people lose these specific religious beliefs, they may still hold on to an idea where there is some cosmic master plan that they're supposed to discover. And that can sound harmless, but it can keep people from agency. For many people, the last trench of theism is not church attendance. It's the belief that there is a hidden divine plan somewhere, and their job is to find it before they waste their life. And the sad part is many people end up wasting their life trying to find it. I feel like I'm talking better than y'all responding. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. This ends up creating paralysis for people. People don't choose who they are. They're still waiting for it. They don't experiment. They interpret signs. They don't build. They search for confirmation. They do not ask what I value. They ask what I'm supposed to be. And this type of mindset predisposes you to being risk averse and failure averse. Okay? And being failure averse is like a one-way road to destruction. It's a one-way road to instability. It's a one-way road to being lost. It's a one-way road to being left behind. Failure aversion. Because now, like, if it's failing, then it couldn't have been in the plan. All right? You see how that works? If I believe there's a master plan, then if I'm doing something and it's not working, I'm more inclined to believe that it's not in the plan, as opposed to remembering that failure is a part of the process. It's not just a part of the process. It's how I learn how to improve the process. But magic wants me to think that if I don't get it right the first time, that I must miss the plan. And so then this robs people of the muscle building activity of failure to actually be able to understand the thing that they're working on. Oh, dang, man. I need to get my exercise routine back up. I'm preaching to myself right now. Damn it. All right. So, like, for me, maybe your life is not a script you're supposed to discover. Maybe it is a self you're responsible for constructing. Mm. Oh my goodness, Jude, I am right there with you. Right there with you. Okay, so this is a personal note, but I threw it in here, so I'm making it public. But like, I felt like life was trying to force me into an identity crisis up until I deconverted. And this ties in. This ties in. I promise you. I felt like life was trying to force, like almost every year, I was having some crisis of identity. Who am I? And that's why this conversation today is, who are you now? But I was having some crisis of identity up until I deconverted. My relationship with society and culture had inculcated me with ideologies of design, predestination, chosen people legacy, and a whole bunch of other bullshit. So everything about my life, I'm trying to check the Bible, which is supposed to be the basic instructions before leaving Earth, but there are no instructions for leaving Earth in that motherfucker. Sorry. You know, I'm checking, I'm praying, I'm meditating, trying to connect with the divine, the creator of all things. You see how arrogant that is? Like, just imagine, like, we don't have a good president right now, but it would still be very arrogant of me to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna get up the phone and call Trump up right now and let him know how I think he's doing. Like, just the arrogance. You're skipping over everybody else, going straight to God. Who do you think you are? Let me stop. The old me would have preached the hell out of that. Would have preached the hell out of that. But I had all of these things to pull on to find myself. Find yourself in the word, young man. And so I did. Sometimes I found myself in David. Sometimes I found myself in Paul. Sometimes I found myself in the struggles of Abraham. Sometimes I found myself in the weight of Moses. But at some point it becomes, why do I need them to be for me to be? Oh, y'all ain't ready for this. Y'all ain't ready for this. No, I had to go, I had to get into the word to find myself. I had to pray to God to find myself. I had to get in God's will to find myself. I had to listen, I had to submit to pastors and mentors and spiritual fathers and apostles and bishops and overseers to find myself. Many people in church world right now are dealing with an identity crisis because the church is telling them every way but the right way. Your identity isn't predefined by anybody. Y'all, I listen. This is why I never switched to Nation of Islam, Hebrew Israelites, or any of the other identity-based theologies. You will see these people jumping in my chat every now and then, like, nah, brother, the true Jesus was black. I don't know how that would make it a selling piece for me. He's still a jackass. He's still useless. He's still dead. And in my book, he likely never even existed. He could have been a Martian for all I care, and it wouldn't matter. But there are so many people who are so attached to identity, is all you got to do is change the color and it'll make it my hero, because then it gives me permission to exist in the present. But I don't need anything from the past to have permission to exist in the present. My identity, listen, when I deconstructed, and that's why we're having this conversation, when I deconverted, rather, it was hard for any of them to get me. Impossible. Up, like, right now, they can't get me because I'm no longer looking for my identity. I'm living it. Oh, y'all don't want to. Oh, no. So when someone else comes to me, it's like, black man, true Asiatic black man, I can tell you who you really are. Motherfucker, you don't know me. How you gonna tell me more than I know about me? No, I am living it. I am living my identity. I'm not looking for it. I'm living it. I'm determining it every day. I am choosing it every day. My identity was no longer a consequence of a grand design or a master's plan. It became a choice I was living out. Man, it became a choice. My identity is a choice. And so I'm asking you, the thing is, who are you now? Thank you so much, Joseph. Who are you now? Like, I'm really big into lineage. Like, so I know my lineage stretching pretty far back, you know. I can trace my family to what used to be known as the West Indies, you know. So I can trace my family, parts of my family to being here, parts of my family to being from Martinique, what's known as Martinique today, part of my family being from Sierra Leone. So, you know, I'm really big into genealogy, but none of that informs who I am today. It may partially inform, even up to a point, it may partially inform how I was born. That's really what it gives insight into. What were the conditions that got him here? That's really what lineage says. But nothing, it would not matter to me if I had an ancient ancestor who was royalty. I do, but but it wouldn't matter to me because I don't believe in magical things. I don't believe in divine right of kings. I don't believe that, unless old dude's wealth is out there and I can take a DNA test and get the wealth. But other than that, it has no impact on who I am today. I don't need anybody in my past to be chosen for me to choose myself. I don't need a chosen ancestor for me to choose myself. I don't need to come from a chosen people for me to choose myself. I don't need to pretend that I'm one of the lost sheep of Israel. Why would being anybody's fucking lost sheep be a flex that I want to have? Israel didn't do good in the Bible. Why would I want to be a part of them? And no, the whole story, listen, from a former pastor's perspective, the whole story of the Bible, from the moment Israel exists as a people, is them fucking up and God being mad about it. They're like, yeah, you are part of these royal fuck ups. You should what? No, I'm sorry. I went a little too comedic, but it's true. It's accurate. And it's funny. It's funny. All right, so oh man, right? Man. Huh. Hey, I'm with you when you're right. Listen, let's talk about now what still shapes us after deconstruction. Because all of that was to just give insight to this reminder that what you deconstructed shaped more than just what you believed about ghost goons and goblins. It shapes what you believe about how the world works. Okay? I'm gonna have you sit in something uncomfortable. I'm gonna have you sit in something uncomfortable. Ooh, some of y'all might hang up on me right here. All right. So every now and then something happens and you say, the world should be fair. Okay. See, to me, it's just me talking. You take it with a grain of salt. To me, that's superstition. To me, that's still handing on to the grand design. The world could be fair. And I don't even know if we can extend that to the world. We got such a small piece in it. We don't have enough ownership of the world to speak up as a shareholder. But we could talk about the planet, we could talk about our ecosystem, and maybe within the next 50 years or so, we can talk about some things within our solar system. But it's not that things should be fair. That's an expectation that there's this plan that is set up. And that because every time everywhere I hear a should, I'm like, because of what? Why? It was just the right thing to do. Okay, then what you mean is things could be fair. not should be. So I'm showing you or highlighting how many things that we see are still based in presuppositions that shaped our identity. And so sometimes when we focus on deconstructing religious beliefs, we don't focus on reconstructing a version of ourselves that challenges all of our beliefs. And I am in no way trying to promote an idea of you having some type of omniscience about life. I'm promoting a greater sense of humility about life. Oh man. Oh. And so the truth is, even after deconstruction, people are still shaped. You know, welcome in Memphis. People are still shaped. Leaving religion doesn't make you unshaped. Okay, think about it this way. Think about it this way. If you are 9 months pregnant and you decide to deconstruct and deconvert, you are still 9 months pregnant. Okay? Nothing about your life or circumstances have changed. You're still carrying what has been growing in you. Okay? And so our ideas, our beliefs, our concepts, and I'm not saying this to beat you up. I'm saying this because this is all the more reason that we have to learn how to give ourselves grace. Hey, we got to learn how to give ourselves grace. We have to know that we are all vulnerable. Because yes, I have changed my mind, but I cannot change the last 40 years of my lived experience. And so these things have grown in me. These things have been shaped in me. The way that ideas even form in our minds, in order for them to really take root, they have to be connected to other categories and networks in our lives. Whew. So leaving religion doesn't make you unshaped. It just means you have to become more honest about what's shaping you. So it's not just what I believed, it's how I was shaped. And I was shaped in a way not to challenge my beliefs. I was shaped in a way not to interrogate my beliefs. I was shaped in a way not to feel comfortable with nuance. And that doesn't just affect what I believe about a Jesus or a God or supernatural claims. It impacts what I believe about people. It impacts how I interact with other people. And if I've deconstructed the belief, but have not identified my complicity in adopting beliefs without adequate interrogation, then I will continue to be complicit in doing so, which is why it's so easy for people to just move from one harmful paradigm to another harmful paradigm to another. But what you will notice about your boy is I don't sit at tables long. People get mad at me for it, but no, my red flag sensors be off the get-go. And I'm typically telling people about it. I'm a very vocal person. I talk. All right. All right. So let's talk about ways we're still shaped. Number one, family and upbringing. For many of us, not all of us, but for many of us, family gives us our first emotional operating system. It teaches us what love feels like, what conflict means, how safe honesty is, whether rest is allowed, whether achievement is required, and whether our needs matter. Even if you reject your family's religion, you may still carry your family's emotional patterns. Now, this is one of I've seen this destroy healthy communication between individuals. I've seen this destroy healthy relationships in individuals because you're expecting everybody to respond to you based off of your family's emotional patterns. hmm I remember, when I was a young minister, um, and I wasn't doing well in life because I was one of those ministers. I'm just going to serve the church, you know. And I think I may have been like 20. Uh, I may have been 20 because I hadn't moved to Jacksonville yet. So I'm either 19 or 20, and I'm a minister at this church here. And there's a couple that stays on a military base, and I'm spending the night with them for whatever reason. And I accidentally put an aluminum cup in the microwave. And of course, like the microwave exploded. I had never had an aluminum cup before. That tells you how poor I was growing up, right? And so I didn't know that aluminum cup does that to microwaves, or aluminum does that to microwaves. I never done it before. And like I felt just horrible, and I was like, oh shit, they're about to be incredibly mad at me. And I'm having not necessarily a panic attack, but maybe it is, like, because I'm crying and everything, and I'm upset. I'm scared that they're gonna think I'm a bad person because I fucked up their microwave. And it was the furthest thing from that. They were more concerned that I was having this type of, hyperventilation type of response to it. Yeah, hypervigilant, Um, and it was like, no, we're just gonna go out and buy a new microwave, And so now I'm mentioning that because we're talking about emotional patterns, your family emotional patterns. My response was based on a family emotional pattern. If I had done that in the house members of in any one of my families, because I pretty much grew up as an orphan, even though like I knew my family members, I was the child of the drug addict, and people treated you that way, you know. And so I had developed these fears and anxieties based off of my family's emotional patterns. And I'm expecting other people to behave the way that my family does. Because when you're growing up, this is just my family. This is how normal people behave. This is normal. All right. Now, see, it didn't really hit me until years later, probably about, I think, 5 or 6 years ago, where my baby sister came to my house, and we didn't grow up together like that. But she came to my house and she had some peanuts. Damn, that's making me want some boiled peanuts now. And she had some boiled peanuts, but it had the sausage in it and some other stuff. I'm salivating just thinking about it. But she burnt it. Like she was outside drinking, got too caught up, and had my house smoky and stuff like that. So she finds it. She's freaking out, just like I was when I was 19. She's having this like overly anxious, like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, hey, you just burnt the pot. And it's not even like damage burnt. This will wash out. Like, it's good. There's even, like, I mean, the peanuts at the bottom are useless. We can't do shit with those, but the ones at the top are still bussing. So I think we're all good here. But and it completely blew her mind that I was no longer operating in the paradigm of our family's emotional pattern. Something bad happened, so now we have to yell and we have to make people feel shamed. And it's like, no, you didn't intentionally do anything wrong. You lost track of time. It happens. Man, y'all ain't ready for this. So people are shaped. Some of the things that shape us are our family and upbringing, our family's emotional patterns. Have you ever called somebody weird, not normal, or unhealthy because they don't do things the way you do things in your family? Which means in that case, you're operating from a bias that presumes that your family is the normal one. All right, the next one is culture and society. Culture tells us what's normal before we're old enough to question it, you know? Culture tells us what is normal before we're old enough to question it. And that should be frightening. A child is learning what's normal before they're old enough to question it. Mhm. They're learning it through what society allows. They're learning it through what their parents and family members promote. They're learning it through how their families behave. This is how a whole generation of kids in the 90s learned that it was normal to physically assault gay people. That's a culture and society shaped behavior, or informed behavior, or influenced behavior. Man. Oh man. Life experiences. Experience becomes a filter. Trauma can make you hypervigilant. Success can make you overconfident. Betrayal can make you suspicious. Poverty can make you survival minded. That's me. Public rejection, public rejection can make you perform acceptance. And so then the struggle that many people find themselves in is, am I living from my values or am I living from my adaptations? It was my values that led me to want to be a preacher. My values, based off of what society and culture had showed me about preachers through media and education. And through media and education, through media and education, pastors were community leaders. They were people that helped people through personal challenges and transitions. And they were people who fought for the marginalized. It's my values, living my values, that made me want to be a preacher. But being a Christian pastor transitioned me into living my adaptations. So now my values have to fit the Christian context. Now, because who I am now doesn't have to run through the filter of anybody else, nor does it have to be preordained. Watch this. In the same way it doesn't have to be preordained, I also no longer need anybody else's permission for my identity. So, Darante, why are you still preaching? Because it's who I am. Y'all don't want to, y'all, man, I'm talking. I'm talking. So that's the question. Am I living for my values or am I living for my adaptations? Relationships and peers, people become mirrors. And it's, like, I hate to pull this from my pastoring days, but hey, this is why you got to check your friend group, man. You got to check your circle. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but like, man, some people are really reckless with their circles. Like, this is what you want in your friend group? Ooh, this explains a lot. Okay, man. Like, I want to get into some coaching, consulting level stuff right here, but I'm gonna leave it alone. But I want to, but people become mirrors. Your friendships, mentors, online communities, romantic relationships, and social circles tell you what version of yourself gets rewarded. And this is especially important after deconstruction because people can leave one tribe and immediately become dependent on another tribe. I am anti-tribalism in all forms that it comes in. You know, I don't want to say anti. I am post-tribalism. I'm not mad about people having a tribe. It's just, no, it's just not me. Like, even when I was a pastor, a big thing in my network of pastors are all the pastors had to be called to their city. This is I'm the city's pastor. I love my city. I don't love a city like that. That's just not me. I've never been that person. I wasn't patriotic in school because I'm like, I don't understand the concept of loving a country. Like, I really don't. I have a hard time parsing that shit in my head. It just sounds like Bloods and Crips to me. Like if I don't understand, like, this is just me. I'm not telling you you have to be me. I don't know what it means to love a country. I know what it means to love people. And the moment I love a country, that's like, what am I saying about the other country? What am I saying about the other people in the other countries? I love people wherever they live, wherever they are. Period. Like, I got enough tribes. It's like, are you for Alabama or Auburn? Well, now Alabama, Roll Tide. That's where my son is going. But it's like, why do I always have to pick with you people? Okay. So sometimes people leave religion and then find themselves still caught in running from one tribe to another because that's what's been shaped. So you'll leave religious conformity and enter deconstruction conformity. And then I started getting nervous when everybody's stories sound alike. You know, so like anytime somebody accuses something of being an echo chamber, a fair question to ask is, what's the echo? That's how you know when you're in an echo chamber. An echo chamber, oh, y'all ain't ready. An echo chamber is not just what's being said. An echo chamber is what's being repeated unchallenged. Y'all, yeesh. Yeah. And then this last one is personal choice and reflection. So this is where identity actually becomes intentional. Identity is not just what happened to you, it's what you repeatedly choose, practice, protect, and become conscious of. A self is built through reflection, habits, boundaries, relationships, commitments, and creative agency. But if you're wrapping your whole identity in somebody else's cosmic plan, then you don't have an identity. You're a plot device. This is why I was felt like I was in an identity crisis for the entire time I was a believer. Because when you're a believer, you don't have an identity. It's no longer you who live, but Christ who lives in you. You become a plot device in somebody else's story. And the problem is, because that story isn't really happening, you actually become a plot device in somebody else's politics, separate from the story altogether. All of these things shape and impact our identity in very real, tangible ways. Um, just and again, we're not just talking about religion here. We're talking about all of it. We're talking about the way we've interacted with our families, the way we interact with our friend circles. We're talking about the cultural groups we belong to, the social clubs we belong to, the subcultures we belong to. All of those things don't just shape how we view ourselves, they also shape how we view the world and how we view others. And I'm saying, now that we know that we are vulnerable to believing things without verifying things, that any of those things that are flowing from our identity, we should want to be more responsible with. Because these things are shaping tangible areas in our lives, like what feels normal. Like If you were raised in chaos, chaos might feel normal to you. That's how it was for me for the longest. Chaos was normal. Silence was boredom. Or even worse, exclusion, isolation, rejection. But then there's some people who think silence is peace because they come from environments where they were punished for honesty. And so if every time I'm honest, it leads to an argument, then peace and silence end up becoming synonymous. If you want peace, just don't say nothing. If you want peace, just don't bring it up. And the thing is, it's really hard to stop those things from overrunning into other areas of your lives. And so then, like, you at work and there's a promotion you should have went for years ago. But if you want peace, don't say nothing. It impacts what feels safe. Like, if obedience is the thing that has kept you safe, then you might try to avoid freedom. It also shapes what feels moral. So then people may confuse guilt with goodness. And that happens a lot for people who are suffering with what I used to call societally unacceptable sins. As a Christian pastor, I was aware that there were sins that society accepted, and then there were sins that society had designated unacceptable. And so those people many of those would often wrestle with this phenomenon of confusing guilt with goodness. Because I feel guilt about committing this unacceptable sin, that must be a sign that there's still some good in me somewhere. Obedience was tied into maturity. The old me wouldn't have obeyed this well. Just think about how weird that sounds. I'll let you sit with that as long as you need to. It also shapes what feels possible. If your world told you that your only purpose was to serve God, serve men, serve family, serve church, or survive, you may struggle to imagine a life built around curiosity, pleasure, creativity, or self-directed growth. And I'm trying to stop myself from exploding here because this one is major. This one is absolutely major. I think this, combined with what I'll just call the learning crisis, these are connected. If people stop learning, then they stop being exposed to what's possible. Okay? To what's like actually possible. But then also, if those people who have stopped learning were raised in a culture where their only purpose was to serve God, or to serve men, or to serve family, or to serve church, then eventually, even when they do dream, they're going to be dreaming so small that it has very little consequence to the way things are in the world. And I don't know if y'all understand this, but we have a crisis. And there are not enough people who are taking a stake of ownership and of responsibility in who we are as a species and how we move. There are not enough people waking up with big dreams for humanity. There are not enough people aiming higher. Because how do you even know how to if everything you've shaped, if the majority of things you've been shaped by have made you risk averse, failure averse, ego averse, curiosity averse, I have a sneaky suspicion that there are certain problems in humanity that could have been solved. I'm just saying, that's my sneaky suspicion. But we've been very comfortable with letting a small percentage hold the ambitions for the entire species of humanity. I'm not okay with that. And that's my message to the people. Like, get in the game. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to take that little rabbit trail. And it also impacts who you believe you are allowed to come. You know, this is the deepest part. Identity systems do not just tell you who you are, they tell you who you're forbidden to become. And so that's why I asked this question, because I don't know how many people get this question nowadays. Who are you now? Like, everybody seems to be interested in what caused you to deconstruct? What religion were you? What background was your religion? But I think the better question is, who are you now? You know? And so to close this out, the question that we have to answer now then, all right, Darante, you did a really good job, pat yourself, of highlighting, like, yeah, we've been shaped by a lot and we can take that for granted. And who we might be showing up as might not be in alignment with our values, but it might just be beliefs and ideas that are just as flawed as our religious beliefs and ideas were. So, how do we become intentional about identity? How do we get better about this? How do we avoid the trap? So, number one, separate reaction from desire. That's something that I occasionally ask people to do. To ask yourself, do I actually want this, or am I just choosing it because it's the opposite of what hurt me? That's when you know when you're doing something reactionary versus doing something transformative. That's when you know when you're doing something reactionary versus doing something disciplinary. This action is going to move me closer to my goal. Do I actually want this, or am I just choosing it because it's the opposite of what hurt me? Number two, name your inherited scripts. Name them, be honest with it. Even if they're not wrong, right? The assumption here is not that all of your inherited scripts are wrong, but you do need to be able to name them. You do need to be able to name which scripts are inherited and which ones are informed. No, because listen, I get it. That's a part of the shortcut of living. It ain't even all your fault. Your brain does this shit. It does it to you. Your brain presents information to you as if it's facts when it's not. And it does that while it's gathering the facts. So it knows it doesn't have all the facts yet. Like, just to give you a familiar phenomenon that you may be familiar with, growing up as a child, and then there's a storm outside, and then there's a tree by the window, and then you just waking up and you looking, and you clearly see a monster looking at you. You clearly see a monster looking at you. That is an image that your brain has delivered you. You are seeing exactly what your brain is filling in until it can gather the rest of the information. And so while you're adjusting and your eyes are getting better, eventually goes, oh, not monster, just tree. So I'm not saying this, my goal in these level of conversations, because again, this is summer school. And these level of conversations is not to say, hey, you suck as a thinker. And say, no, this is how your brain will work against you if you're not careful. And so you have to get out of co-pilot mode and get in the driver's seat. And this is one of the ways we connect better with other people. This is how we build better with other people. We have to stop letting co-pilot crash our relationships. We have to stop letting co-pilot crash our connections. I had to come back and do it with all C's. We have to stop letting co-pilots crash our connections. That co-pilot mode we got to get out of, and we got to get into pilot mode. Get in the driving seat. Get on over there, shift them gears yourself and say, this is an inherited script. This is an informed script. And again, inherited does not mean negative. It means uninvestigated. It means unsubstantiated. And so, like, I don't know. I may find a way to test this, to test like how many for a person to be able to take a test that somehow hypothesizes or estimates how many beliefs they hold that are uninvestigated, inherited versus informed. But so you ask yourself, like, what did my family, my church, my culture, or trauma teach me to believe about myself? And I give this experiment quite often because it I think it helps. But just sit down and journal. You can do journal, index card, post-it notes, and just write out everything in your mind that you can think about you. No time limit. Everything. All your likes, all your dislikes, your freaky stuff, your sneaky stuff, your nasty stuff, your clean stuff, your naughty stuff, your little polite stuff, your nerdy stuff, just all the things about you. And then go through each one of them with one question without attaching a negative or a positive value. Why? Just that's it. Why do I like this? And I find what people begin to discover when they do engage experiences like that is that so much of what they like is inherited, not informed. So much of what they even think about themselves is inherited, not informed. I went through a period of my life where I thought some negative things about myself as a young teenager because I wasn't familiar with the immaturity of church politics. And I'm thinking these are all adults. And it wasn't until sitting like with one of my homies, we were on our way to a conference and we were just kind of talking through our different experiences. And he was like, dude, you're living a story that's not your story. You're accepting labels that are not your labels. And that's how dangerous it is to live a life uninvestigated. I mean, with all this good gossip you get and you can't get the tea on yourself. Oh, that was too good. That was too cold-blooded of a line. That was too cold-blooded. And the next one, identify your actual values. I like that. Yes, just because you're crazy doesn't mean you're not right. That's right. Yes. I love that. Yes. Oh man. So identify your actual values, not doctrines, not reactions, but your values. Is this something I even care about? Is this something I want to be defined or not defined by? My our head of community for Bridge City reached out to me, Ashley, I think it was last week or maybe the week before last, and she was asking me about one of the pictures. And normally we just switch things out fairly quickly. Somebody says, "Oh, this looks to this or this looks to that," and I'm like, "Yeah, change it because none of it matters to me. It's aesthetic." And I don't want to say none of it matters. Some of it matters, but by far and large, it doesn't. It's aesthetic. And so she had asked me about one, and she was like, "Yeah, I think some of the members were saying it might look a little too corporate." And I was thinking about it, and I said, let me think about it for a minute. Because normally my gut reaction is, yeah, change it. If they think it's, this or that, just change it. And then I thought about it and I was like, actually, is that a battle we really want to fight? And I was like, no. Is that a value? Is that one of our values to make sure that we look anti-corporate? I was like, oh, damn. And we both kind of sat with it for a minute. It's like, no, that's not actually one of our values at all. That's more likely, and yeah, I'm just gonna say it. It's a trigger. It's someone else's trigger, and the problem is, it's not that you don't be mindful of triggers based off severity. The problem is we're in building mode, not painting mode, not decoration mode. And so, from a leadership perspective, we have to recognize when we're getting more caught up in aesthetics than development, than construction. And so it's like, yeah, I want this picture on the wall instead of this picture. And I'm like, well, we really ain't got no walls yet. So let's get the walls up first. But this is the importance of values, not doctrine, not reactions, not reactions. What are my actual values? What are my values? Okay. Values of Bridge City are what? Forward thinking, people centric, life affirming. We don't have a battle with corporate looking. Like, I just imagine, I wondered when people go to the hospital, do they just like, oh, this looks too corporate for me? I don't want to be seen here. Or when people go to college, do they say, oh, this looks too corporate? That's not a battle I'd be interested in fighting. I wouldn't even know how to win it. I would not know how to win it. So you ask yourself, what do I want to be true of me, even when no one is watching? And that even when no one is watching part, it's not about guilt, which is where we typically go. It's like, what would you do that you're not guilty for? Or who do you want to be that you don't have to be guilty for? And it's like, no, what do I want to be true of, even if no one is watching? This is more so, this is also inclusive of, like, no, what do I want to be true to me, regardless of what other people think? No, what are my values? What do I value? And that's hard work, because so much of culture tried to tell you what your values are. These are good American values. These are good Christian values. These are strong Black cultural values. I'd like to choose my own values, please. I like to buy a value. Can I do that? Okay, I love it. I love it. So the question becomes, does my life make my values visible? Am I living in a way that people can see my values? Am I and am I living in a way that people can see my values? That my values can be somewhat of a lighthouse for other people? I hope this is helping somebody. And then you build practices that match the self you claim. Identity is not just a declaration, it's a pattern. If you value health, what's the practice? If you value honesty, what conversation are you avoiding? If you value community, where are you showing up? If you value freedom, what responsibility are you taking? If you value creativity, what are you making? And see, that's the hidden gift in Bridge City. Is Bridge City literally generates opportunity for people to build the practices, that match the self they claim, especially for people who are passionate about other people. People say, I do this for people. Guess what? Bridge City got people to do things for. You know? And so then this final one, and this is important because I'm big on community, but I want this to be very clear. What's up, Nat? I want this to be very clear because this happens. It's a real risk. I said Nat. I meant Natalie. I'm sorry. I want to be very clear about this because it happens. A lot of people fear community after religious trauma because community once meant control. It once meant control. So the goal is not to become a person who needs nobody. The goal is to become a person who can belong without disappearing. And see, it's to become the type of person I can belong here without having to disappear here. And that's the line of community. That's where you know where, okay, I'm dealing with actual community, not conformity. Conformity requires me to disappear. It requires me to hide my bad days. It requires me to hide my disagreements. It requires me to hide my misunderstandings. But community has to be a place where people can belong without having to disappear, without having to conform. So to wrap this all up, deconstruction can help you escape, but escape is only the beginning. At some point, the question can not only be, what did I leave? It has to become, what am I building? Because indignation is not identity. Trauma is not personality, and reaction is not freedom. What's the use of getting off the plantation if you never make it to freedom? What's the use of escaping if we're not going to explore freedom? You know? So you're not just a person who left the church. You're not just a person who survived bad theology. You're not just a person who can now explain what was wrong with the system. The deeper question is, who are you when you're no longer performing obedience, no longer organizing yourself around fear, and no longer defining yourself by the thing you escaped? So yes, it is a wonderful thing that we are building paths out, but getting out is not the same thing as getting in. What's next? And what's needed for what's next is you. You're needed. We're sharing this carpool together, this great big carpool of life. And there are a lot of driver seats to go around. But you're going to have to get in this motherfucker and drive. Y'all like how I just threw that in there like that? Yeah. Because that's where freedom begins. Not just when you leave the cage, but when you start deciding what kind of life you are responsible for building outside of it. And if you want more conversation like this, we have been in an incredible series for the past 3 weeks with Bridge City on Sunday sessions, and we're closing out this series this Sunday. It's hand in hand with this stuff. Like, we're literally talking about building what gives back this Sunday. So I'd love to see you there. Why show up to lives like this? Why show up to Sunday sessions? It's not about coming here to consume content that's going to make you bitter. This is coming here to learn different ways that can help you be better. We're not doing bitterness around here. We're doing betterness. You know, that's the language we talk. And so once you realize, I open this up, there's a learning crisis where many people stop learning in the 9th grade, you know, or somewhere in high school. Just stop. And when I say learning, I'm not saying they stopped consuming information. I'm saying they stop actively pursuing information in a routine to improve their chances in life. That process quit. I'm no longer learning to inform my life. I'm just consuming information to enjoy the moment. And that's the type of crises that we're in. But because of the work that Bridge City is doing, we got people that have more learning touch points. We're introducing psychology, sociology, just all the branches of social sciences. You're getting all of that. Anthropology, hermeneutics, a rehashing of biblical criticism, reshaping of theology. It's the ability, it's the routine, the weekly touch point of learning together, questioning together, building conversations together, and sparking that muscle in your mind that's going to kick off that next great idea, that's going to kick off that next nonprofit, that's going to kick off that next mission, that's going to help somebody, that's going to kick off that next cause you have. It's going to come from stuff like this. And whether it's with Bridge City or somebody else, it don't really matter. But if you're out here wanting to be the difference and wanting to make the difference and wanting to be a positive impact in society, in this world that we share together, then I'm telling you, Bridge City Sunday sessions is where the champions meet up to change the world. That's all I got for y'all today. I'll see y'all Sunday. Until next time, keep rising.
Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. We can make it over anything when we focus on our liberty. It doesn't matter where we used to be. We're waking up and now we're breaking free. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. We can make it over anything when we focus on our liberty. It doesn't matter where we used to be. We're waking up and now we're breaking free. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. We are rising into victory, celebrating our humanity. It doesn't matter where we used to be. We're waking up and now we're breaking free. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Hey, hey. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Jalapeno habanero, hell yeah. Yeah. We are rising into victory, celebrating our humanity. It doesn't matter where we used to be. We're waking up and now we're breaking free. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, waking up and now we're breaking free.